This story is about a Jewish father and his two sons. And Jews regarded pigs as unclean. The lowest job in the household for a Jew was that of a slave who would wash the feet of visitors who came to the house. Now, the job of being in the field with the pigs was lower than that. And that's where this young man found himself, doing a job that he and nobody else wanted to do. But decisions will make you do stuff that you never dreamed you would do. Instead, looking there, he was there working with the pigs and hungry. So hungry that he thought about eating the pods that the pigs were eating. And notice what the text says, and nobody gave him anything. A man must understand that life brings with it consequences. Now, children can make foolish choices because invariably someone will come and rescue them. And that's the luxury of being a boy. Because when you're a child, a boy, someone is going to bail you out of the messes that you get into. But when you become a man, you began to realize that you have to make wiser choices. And that whatever you choose, it will bear. The gospel story is this parable, because now we see that this story is not about falling and sin, but it's really about grace and redemption. The turning point in the story happens at the moment the young man, who's still a boy, remembers his father. But, that's what the text says, but, and Elisa, there's more gospel in the word but than in any other word in the English language. But when he came to himself, he said, how many of my father's hired hands have bread enough to spare, but here I am dying of hunger. You know, it's a long journey for you to come to yourself. But there is something powerful about realizing that you don't have to live like you're living. And this brings me to my fourth and final point. A man's got to know that if you're down, don't stay there, but get up. The real fact is, I don't care how you got down. It doesn't matter whether you fell down, if you got knocked down, if you got pushed down, or even if you were let down, you don't have to stay down. And this is the moment this boy became a man. The moment when he said, I will arise and go to my father. This is what a man's got to do. A man's got to remember that failure isn't irreversible. John Maxwell, in his book Falling Forward, reminds us of an old Texas saying, it doesn't matter how much milk you spill as long as you don't lose your cow. A man will realize that you're never as bad as you look, and you're never as good as you think you are. The truth is, everybody fails sometimes, but when you fail, pick yourself up from the failure and move on. This is what a man's got to do. Remember that failure is not a stigma. That there is a difference, you know, between failing and being a failure. An incident of failure does not and should not define who you are. A mistake is often an event. Failure is what happens when you engage in a process that continually repeats a pattern that does not work. Old folk used to say, doing the same thing the same way, expecting a different result, is definitely failure. Oh, help me, Holy Ghost. And most of all, that is what a man's got to do. A man's got to remember that failure is not final. Maxwell says the question is not if we will fail, but how we're going to deal with failure. Are you going to fail forward, or are you going to fail backward? Is failure going to teach you a lesson that will allow you to grow, or are you going to permanently be scarred and wounded by what happened to you in your past? If you realize that failure isn't final, you will be surprised at what results will follow. You will find that God uses people who fail simply because God chooses to use people who fail. Don't let failure stop you, Dad. our failures may not have made front page news this week, but all of us know in here that we have failed at some time. In fact, the most successful people we know have failed, and were declared failures at least once in their life. I would take time and walk through the Bible with you and show you great men like Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and David, and all those guys who have failed, but you can read them for yourself. But did you not know that Thomas Edison had a teacher who told him once that he was too stupid to learn anything? Oh, that teacher thought he was a failure. But thank God for Thomas Edison up in here. Abraham Lincoln lost as many as 7 elections and even suffered a nervous breakdown before he was elected president of the United States. That means you can fail, but still wind up on top in this country. Help me here. Albert Einstein was told by a schoolmaster when he was a child that he would never amount to much. But look at his genius now. In fact, a newspaper editor once fired Walt Disney because he said he lacked good ideas. Muhammad Ali, my favorite, graduated 376 in his high school class of 391. But he topped them all, and didn't he do it? Michael Jordan was even cut from his high school basketball team. Winston Churchill struggled in school and failed 6th grade, lost every election for public office until he finally became Prime Minister of England at the age of 62. You just got to keep on getting up, keep on trying. Oprah Winfrey was fired from a job by someone who called her unfit for television. She did not stop. She now owns her own network. Oh, you can make it if you try. After his first acting audition, Sidney Poitier was told by the casting director, why don't you stop wasting people's time and go out and become a dishwasher or something? You remember J.K. Rowling? Anybody know her? She was a divorced welfare mother and a struggling writer in England whose stories nobody wanted to read before she wrote a little book called about a boy named Harry Potter. Oh, I could go on. Bill Gates was a dropout from Harvard University. In fact, Barack Hussein Obama was teased as a skinny kid with a funny name. You can put your name there. I was told when I was growing up that I would never be anything. I was told by a teacher that I would never become a nurse because I didn't have brains enough to become a nurse. But I thank God today that here I stand before one of the greatest churches in America as the leader of the church. Yes, I messed up. Yes, I failed, but I kept on getting up. Daddy, you're going to mess up in life. You're going to make mistakes. But don't let your mistakes keep you down. If you fall, get up and try it again. Nothing means a failure but a try. It's Father's Day. You've been struggling all year. No, you ain't got it right yet. You'll never get it right. But you got to keep on trying. If you keep trying, eventually you shall come forth. I like that song that says, please be patient with me. God is not through with me yet. Please be patient with me. God is not through with me yet. But when God gets through with me, I shall come forth like pure gold. The young boy got up and went home to his father, only to find out that his father was rejoicing because he came home. Daddy, you made some mistakes. Get over the mistakes. Go home and get the boy. The boy needs you in his life. He can't learn it from nobody else. You got to teach him so he can grow up and be a responsible citizen in the United States of America, in the world.